Hey guys, what's going on? It's If You Have to Pick Three. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
We are tasked with the improbable duty in certain circumstances of picking a top three list, both of us, and then coming up with a final top three list. This one is an annual show that we do, and every time that the date rolls around, it feels a little bit special. And, over the last couple of years, it hasn't been so easy because of the world we live in now. But Record Store Day. Any music head loves Record Store Day. And finally, we may be getting back to, well, I guess a regular record store day, but
yeah, we were just literally discussing this. We're like, oh yeah, it's the first time it's coming back as a single day. And then we read the fine print. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, so what Zach is talking about is Record Store Day officially in 2022 is on April 23rd. However, there is a big asterisk on that because on June 18th, they're calling this a Record Store Day drop date. So there are additional releases on June 18th, but it's not a regular Record Store Day. But you're still going to have to go to the record stores to purchase these drops. Right.
Lame. But still cool. On the one hand, it's like they just don't be more upfront about it. But the other hand, it's like it's good that they're being cautious and understanding of everything that's going on. I mean, it's still not to get too down this rabbit hole, but every time we think, all right, we're getting back to normal, boom, variant or boom, just all the craziness. Just you name the craziness, something happens to cause delays. So I guess thank you, Record Store Day, for being cautious. But that also doesn't mean that they don't have some amazing titles, again, like normal. And that's always the kind of fun, is that they always come out with something really cool that makes us fellow music geeks go, ooh, that's awesome. I got to go get that, even though I'll probably never listen to it.
I don't know about you, but I like to listen to my Record Store Day pickups.
I mean, I say I do, but I end up always forgetting to actually play. I listen to a majority of them, but realistic, especially now that I have kids, I'm like, I shouldn't even be spending hours waiting in line for records. I should be responsible and see my children.
But this is the one day of the year, though. Well, maybe the one day of the year that you can line up and just get limited edition things that you can't get wherever. Take 10 minutes for yourself.
10 minutes. When was the last time we waited 10 minutes in line for a Record Store Day, Matt?
When I went at 12 noon and missed everything.
But yeah, I mean, it's always, and we used to have a lot of fun, you and I, to actually go together. And, maybe this year we'll try to go again. I mean, I would love to go again this year. But we just would always have fun, not just all, going in line and waiting in line together, but also then you meet people and just end up chatting about how you're hoping to get this title, or, oh, I can't believe, they're only releasing this in this format. And so it's a great time. And I think, this is a chance for us to kind of give you a preview as to, when we are in line, what are the three cool titles that we are really making sure that we're going to get when we go to the record store. I was about to say, like, when we go to vintage vinyl, which ones are we going to pick up?
Yeah, it's not happening.
Get to do that. Oh,
yeah, what was one of the biggest record stores in the area. They closed down last year.
That always had like a huge shipment order of like some great titles and just a great selection of vinyl too.
Yeah.
Of new releases, old releases. Granted, I mean, there's other one that we love is Scotty's in Summit, New Jersey. They always do a good job of selections, and just they also have some great vinyl in general. I personally grew up with Princeton Record Exchange in Princeton, New Jersey. So literally more than half of my collection has come from that place, just from years as a kid going there after school as a second home. So maybe this year consider go make the trip down there for that. What was your record store other than Sam Goody?
All of them are
Growing
pretty
up,
much gone. There was CD World. They had a lot of vinyl, but
despite the name.
Let's see. There was Coconuts. There was a couple of just random ones in like the mall. I think it was A-Walk, something like that. Music. It was a little small hole in the wall place that I always remember going to because growing up, my parents went to the mall a lot, so we always passed by that music store, and I went in there.
It's a Jersey tradition to go to the mall all the time.
Yeah. God, what other ones did I go to? I think that's it. I think that's what was mainly around.
It's still a good picking group of pickings for vinyl.
There was a lot of good vinyl stuff, but it wasn't like we didn't go to like the used vinyl stores. We predominantly went to the new music stores, but they did have, like I said, selections of vinyl where we could pick that stuff up at. And I think, yeah, one of the very first CDs that I ever got was at CD World. I think I got a 311 CD. I got Lit, and I got the 1997 or 8 CD World compilation disc that introduced me to a buttload of bands, including Buck Cherry when they first came out and they didn't sell out or suck.
Well, so yeah, now as we get ready for Record Store Day 2022, we are going to be each of us sharing the three, what are in our opinions, the three coolest releases this year, and which ones we're definitely going to be picking up. And then we'll debate which ones are the coolest out of those six final. But before we go too deep into those titles, special shout out to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
If you haven't heard us talk about Lucky 13, well, you haven't joined us for very many podcasts, and I think you're going to actually like what these guys are doing because they are a very cool, very boutique-ish, to use record store terms, boutique-ish beard oil company. They make you feel good, smell good, and just overall get your beard in line. So we collaborated with Ed and the guys over there, and we came up with something that we feel is very much pun intended, epic. Because our beard oil is based upon Lemmy from Motorhead. And we boiled it down to the four things that we think Lemmy is that we could actually get smells on. Rock and roll's going to smell, like various things and probably not good at times. But we got bourbon, cola, tobacco, and leather. So right there, that's Lemmy in a bottle. And then Ed and the guys knocked it out of the park with the scent. And what you're left with is, I think, probably the best smelling beard oil that I've ever smelled. And I've smelled a lot of them because I work in another industry that deals with that stuff predominantly. So, yeah, I've smelled a lot of beard oils. So, if you want to try this amazing beard oil, all you got to do is go to Lucky13, the number beardco.com, and then you click on the product page, and the Lemmy is the first thing that you're going to see on there. Put it in your cart and pick up anything else on that website. And then remember, you use the code EFP10 at checkout. You're going to get 10% off of your entire order. So if you've ever wanted to try any beard products, this is the time to try it. Get yourself looking good, feeling good, smelling epic with our Lemmy Beard Oil. 10% off at checkout, EFP10. I guarantee that you're going to love the way you smell with this stuff.
So, Matt, I'm going to be a gentleman. I'm going to let you go first.
You're going to let me go first. Holy shit.
Yeah, because I'm a gentleman.
Well, at least now you are. All right. So I do have a bunch on my list, and we're going to go through some honorable mentions later. Number one is going to be probably the thing that I'm most excited for. And it's funny that this was announced for Record Store Day. And it's funny that this is actually coming to fruition because Zach and myself recently relived watching Some Kind of Monster, Metallica's documentary. And in there, they made this big stink that Jason wanted to do his own solo project. And, Jason left the band because saying, no, you can't do that. You got to focus on Metallica and so on and so forth. And now it's funny all these years later to see Kirk Hammett actually put out his own debut solo EP entitled Portals, and it's going to be coming out specifically on Record Store Day, and it's going to be on all the regular formats. It's going to come out on vinyl, and it's going to be pressed on ocean blue vinyl when it comes out. So I think that's going to be something really cool to pick up and see where Kurt actually is taking his solo EP, because years and years ago he played on one of Santana's albums, and he did some really non-traditional Kurt stuff. But then, he took it back to, Kirk from Metallica, soloing on that as well. So I don't know if this is going to be an album full of Kirk Hammett solos or if it's going to be him showing his virtuosity. So I think it's going to be really cool, especially as a Metallica fan, getting to pick this up. So that's number one on the list. So going
Awesome.
through so going through the rest of what I've got on here, just because I know I want to get this one on the list, I'm going to make this number 2. This one actually is not music. I know, it's a shocker. This is not
Oh.
music. So back in 2010, there was an audiobook put out based upon the classic TV show Doctor Who, with I want to say, the most popular doctor of all time in David Tennant. And David Tennant's a fantastic actor. If you haven't seen him in Doctor Who, he was in one of the Harry Potters. He's been in a slew of other things. If you've never heard of David Tennant, you need to look up some of his work. But he was great in Doctor Who. And I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I was actually a fan of his in the show. So what happened back in 2010 was there was an exclusive to audio Doctor Who adventure featuring the 10th Doctor, David Tennant. It was very, very well received, and it was never on any formats other than audiobook. So this is going to be, for the first time on vinyl, you can actually pick up the episode called Dead Air, and it's going to be pressed on 2 vinyls, and it's going to be a translucent light smoke green vinyl. So I think it looks actually really cool. If you are a fan of Doctor Who and you've never heard of this, this is something definitely that you're going to want to go pick up. So that's number 2. And number 3, we're going to go with, this is going to go underneath the category of something that you could never pick up when it was first put out. I grew up just listening to a bunch of random things. I never really defined my music taste as, oh, I like rock, I like hip hop, I like, dance music. I never really classified myself under any one banner. I just listened to a lot of different things. And one of the albums that I remember listening to a lot and on repeat, and I know the CD was scuffed to high hell, the case was blown apart, the book was like under my bed at one point, but the album always was in my CD player, and you never could get this thing on vinyl because it came out in the late 90s. And there was very few vinyl albums being pressed, if any, at that point, of new music. So when they announced that Everlast's Whitey Ford Sings the Blues is going to be put out for the first time on vinyl, I was like, wow, okay, that is something awesome, because I know that this is something that is going to probably get listened to a lot. And they didn't mention if it's going to be pressed on anything special, like any special colors, or if it's going to be like a black and white vinyl, or, just some other special thing. But just to be able to pick up something that came out from the late 90s on vinyl for the first time ever, to me seems like something special to go pick up. So I'm going to say that that is number 3 on my list. So what we've got is number 1, Kirk Hammett, Portals, his debut solo EP. The Doctor Who exclusive audiobook, now on vinyl for the first time, Dead Air. And Everlast's Whitey Ford Sings the Blues as number 3.
I think out of all of them, the Everlast mention is the biggest shocker.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't know why either. Cool. My turn now.
So what you going to pick up?
So my first pick, I'm gonna just go ahead and say one that you mentioned, Kirk Hammett, Portals. I mean, it's the first solo EP of Kirk Hammett, and it's on blue vinyl. I mean, do I need to say any more? This might be the coolest non-Metallica release that a Metallica fan can pick up during Record Store Day. It's just going to be a cool item to have if you're a Metallica fan, regardless of what the EP ends up sounding like. So yeah, no brainer. Had to go with Portals. The second one, this is going to be a no brainer. You got to pick this one up if you are a Prince fan. So a little history lesson. The Gold Experience was the first full length where Prince actually is credited as his unpronounceable logo, the love symbol, which we actually, if you recall in the past, if you have to pick 3 episode, named as one of the most iconic logos in music. This is when he was at the height of a really nasty battle with his label, and he refused to call himself Prince, and he was only to be referred to as the symbol, or the artist formerly known as Prince. And what makes this particular release more cool is that not only is it a translucent gold vinyl, but it actually is an homage to the rare US only promo version that they released in 1995 of this album. So it's not only, again, I'm a sucker for color and special marble kind of vinyl. If you've seen any of our episodes of What's Spinning, you hear me say that all the time. So not only is it gold vinyl, but it's also just the packaging itself is something that only you would have had if you received the promo copy of it in the US back in 95. So I just think the packaging alone is cool. The history behind it is cool. And just the piece of vinyl itself is awesome. So Prince's, or the artist formerly known as Prince's The Gold Experience, that I would say is one of the coolest Record Store Day releases of 2022. The third and final pick, and Matt kind of touched upon this with one of his picks, and one of our favorite What's Spinning episodes is when we did the unboxing of the South Park Bigger, Louder, the movie soundtrack. So that's an example of how not only there's some really cool artists and musicians and bands that release titles, but it's also a chance to get some of your favorite soundtracks or TV or movie related projects on vinyl as well. And to me, one of them that stands out this year is the movie soundtrack to Watchmen. Now, I love the comic book. It's debatable about the movie version itself. Lots of different people have different thoughts on whether or not they did a good job with it or not. Regardless, one of the things that they did really well, because in the comic book, you definitely there's little references to songs, and it was known what songs were to kind of be attached to certain scenes in the comic book. And they did a great job at replicating a lot of those songs and using it in the soundtrack itself for the movie, whether it's the famous opening scene with the murder of the comedian to Nat King Cole, to just Jimi Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower, to Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. And then also at the end, how they had My Chemical Romance record a couple of Desolation Row by Bob Dylan. The Watchmen music always had a big part in the storytelling of Watchmen, and the movie version did a pretty damn good job at capturing that as well. So not only are they, for Record Store Day, releasing a 3 LP that combines both the original score of the movie as well as the soundtrack itself into one release. But the soundtrack that includes the Jimi Hendrix, Nat King Cole, My Chemical Romance songs is going to be on Smiley Face Yellow, of course, a reference to the comedian and his smiley face pen. And then the score is going to be on Dr. Manhattan Blue, which is referring to Dr. Manhattan. So if you're a fan of The Watchmen, it's definitely kind of a cool piece of memorabilia to own. The soundtrack on vinyl, but also just this cool color variant as well. So to recap, my 3 titles that I would say are the coolest releases coming out of Record Store Day 2022 are Kirk Hammett's Portals EP, Prince's The Gold Experience, and The Watchmen's movie soundtrack. So Matt, it's time for me to do my famous ultimatum, my famous deal. So obviously, Kirk Hammett's Portals EP, because we both said that in our lists. Prince's The Gold Experience, and the Doctor Who release, because that is really unique and cool. Not only is it a cool piece of vinyl, but it's not your standard typical vinyl release that you would expect on the day.
Yeah, I can live with that.
Cool. So we'll recap that in a second, but now it's time to go down the dark rabbit hole of honorable mentions. What almost made it onto your list, Matt?
All right, so I got a number of them on here. First one, Alice in Chains. The We Die Young EP. It was a limited commercial release back in the 90s. It was like a promo only. So they're going to remaster. They remastered it. It's a 3-track EP. There's a couple songs that ended up a facelift, along with Killing Yourself, that's exclusive to the EP. So I thought that one was pretty cool. Because this one is a very odd shaped vinyl, I think that it would be kind of cool to have, because for some reason, I remember years and years and years ago, for Metallica's 30th anniversary, they put out I forget the magazine, but there was a magazine that did a special on Metallica's 30th anniversary shows that they were doing, and they put out a vinyl that was inside of the magazine, and it was a square. So I have that somewhere. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I know I have it. It's somewhere. But this reminded me of it, and it's even cooler because this one's in the shape of a tombstone, and it's Hailstorms Back from the Dead EP, which is the title track, Back from the Dead, and then on the B side, do a cover of Long Live Rock. So that I think would be pretty cool to hear. Then we've got the Cranberries on here, Remembering Dolores, because years ago, the lead singer of the Cranberries passed away. This Remembering Dolores EP is a compilation of songs selected throughout the Cranberries discography. It was digitally released back in 2021. That was around what would have been her 50th birthday. So what they're doing now is the estate of Dolores, along with the surviving members of the Cranberries, they're releasing a special 2 LP edition of Remembering Dolores. And it also features 3 bonus tracks called Rebels, Astral Projections, and War Child. So I think that's a pretty cool pickup. Let's see. And then, based off of one of our past episodes where we talked about the fandom of Fish, we also talked briefly about Grateful Dead. And I know that a lot of people love the Grateful Dead. And for those who were at the shows back in the 70s and the 80s, there are obviously the bootlegs that are out there, but the Grateful Dead are going to be releasing the breakout vinyl set from the Europe 72 shows. It's going to be in a huge box set celebrating the 50th anniversary of the legendary 72 tour, and it's going to be mastered by David Glasser. So that's a pretty cool release. And I actually like the artwork that they show. It's in that very cartoony style that the Grateful Dead had on, I forget what it was. There was an album that was out there, or there's been a couple of them, but it's a skeleton on this one wearing the traditional garb of the guards at Buckingham with the big black hat and the red coat. So I think that's really cool. And then also in the same vein, the Jerry Garcia Acoustic Band is going to be putting out some new material, Ragged But Right. It was originally put out back in 2010. It's live recordings from the band's Fall '87 tour stops in New York City and the stop at Wilthern Theater in Los Angeles. They stopped at Warfield Theater in San Francisco. So there's a whole bunch of recordings that go on there, and it's going to be available for the first time on vinyl, and it's going to be pressed on 180-gram vinyl, and it's going to be in a gatefold style. So the 180-gram vinyl is actually what I think is going to be the most predominant feature of this particular release, because that's like audiophile grade vinyl, because you can get a lot of information on the vinyl when it's 180 gram. So I think, if you're really into your quality of music and you're a fan of the Grateful Dead, you're going to get something really special with that one. So yeah, those are my honorable mentions. What do you got?
So for me, a few that stood out. There's a band that you probably have heard of at this point. They really blew up the past year, called Black Pumas. Their song Colors is just phenomenal, and their whole album is just great. They've been really just getting on a lot of big shows and performances. And this year, they're actually releasing a 7-inch vinyl box set that includes 6 7-inch singles, a mixture of their own songs, some remixes, some B-sides, and each one just comes with a really cool, different kind of deluxe artwork. And it's just really a good excuse to support Black Pumas. They're just a really awesome, fun band. Another one, you may or may not know this, but I absolutely love Childish Gambino. Donald Glover is just he's a brilliant actor, but also a brilliant artist. The work that he's done as Childish Gambino, to see him evolve over the years from kind of a jokey rapper to awesome R&B hip hop artist, it's just been amazing to watch. And this year, he is releasing, for the first time, a vinyl version of his EP, Cowie. And what's cool is that it's going to be pressed on 3 surprise color vinyls. So normally, you know what the color variant is going to be, but we don't even know what the colors are, and it's going to be just randomly distributed throughout the world. So what you end up getting in New Jersey could be very different from what you get in the UK. Actually, hell, what you get in Prince, New Jersey can be very different from what you get in Summit, New Jersey, which is just I just always find that really cool. And plus, the Childish Gambino, so you can't beat that. And then another one is this, and this is very much more just a small quantity. Only 500 are going to get made of this, but Cold War Kids are a really awesome pop indie rock kind of band. you hear their songs like, oh man, that's just a good pop song. Like, holy crap, why is this not on the radio all the time? So for Record Store Day, they're releasing Zoe Selects. And what this is, it's a 10-song compilation that's essentially a track list of favorites from their friend and super fan, Zoe. They asked Zoe to be like, hey, choose which 10 songs you'd want on a compilation, and this is her picks. I just think that's really cool and random. Just like, yeah, we just asked the fan to choose a compilation, and we're going to release 500 copies of it. Like, cool.
The ultimate playlist.
Talk about a way to engage with, well, I was going to say engage with fans, but I guess in this case, just engage with a fan. So I thought that was really cool. And then, as if that wasn't enough, it's also going to be printed on metallic silver. So boom, cool looking 12-inch vinyl, plus a cool story behind it. That almost got into my top 3, but I'd probably end up picking that up too. So those are some of my honorable mentions. But
okay,
to
hold
recap,
on. Before you go back and recap, I want to say this. I am super surprised that you did not have the Paul McCartney and St. Vincent release on your list.
Did I miss that one?
Yup.
What are they doing? Because that's the other problem too, is that like there's definitely been like every time we do this episode, literally a month later, I'll be like, oh crap, I forgot that release. Oh crap, I forgot that even is happening.
Paul McCartney and St. Vincent are doing the Women and Wives EP. It's a limited edition 12-inch vinyl celebrating Record Store Day, the song of the year, Women and Wives, featuring Paul McCartney's original version of the song from the #1 album, McCartney 3 on side A, and St. Vincent's reimagined version of that song on side B. This is a one-time worldwide run of 3,000 copies.
You know what though? Okay. I mean, that's cool, but I stand by my pick because those are like she released her remix of that or her version of the song a while ago. Because if I'm trying to think back if I'm getting this accurate, but so McCartney released 3, and then a few months later or a year later, they released kind of like how Metallica did the Blackest album, where they had 50 artists do their own versions of each song off the Black album.
Yep.
Basically, he selected like 10 artists to eat, however many tracks he had on that album. He selected artists to choose one track off the album and do their own version of it. So it's cool. I mean, I love St. Vincent. Everyone who listens to our podcast knows that. And if Paul McCartney's freaking Paul McCartney, he's a legend. Is that on any special kind of vinyl, or is it just black vinyl?
It looks like it's on a matte black color, but it doesn't say that it's anything special.
Yeah, then, I mean, it's cool, but I think the ones that I picked, even as the honorable mentions, I feel like that's a little bit more special and interesting. So I'm sticking to that list.
All right, so recap it.
Speaking of, to recap it, and you know what, if you want, we can make it finalized. We can finalize it now in case you really are inclined to. But we're going with Kirk Hammett of Metallica's solo EP, Portals. We're going with, can you give me the full title of Doctor Who?
It's Doctor Who's Dead Air.
That one. Doctor Who's Dead Air, and also Prince's, or the artist formerly known as Prince's The Gold Experience. Those are the coolest Record Store Day 2022 titles, in our opinion. Are they though? Do you agree? Do you think we're missing a title like I obviously did with Paul McCartney and St. Vincent? What are you looking forward to picking up this Record Store Day? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out more podcasts like this, and maybe even watch a few episodes of our series What's Spinning, where we'll show off what we end up picking up at Record Store Day. Thank you also so much to Lucky 13 Beard Co. Again, go to lucky13beardco.com, use the code EFP10, get 10% off your order of some amazingly smelling, great beard oil products, including our very own lemon-inspired beard oil. And also thank you to Rootless Coffee. They're based out of Flint, Michigan. They produce some really awesome tasting coffee blends. And they also work with a lot of cool artists, whether they're comic books artists, musicians, podcasters, even wrestlers. In fact, if you're an AEW fan like me, you'll know that they are the ones who partner with the very spooky, very evil Dan Housen, the great AEW new wrestler, a Ring of Honor wrestler as well, on all of the coffee blends that he's done. Really great guys. So go to rootlesscoffee.com. Use the code EPICROAST. You get 15% off your order on some coffees that really break free from boredom. Thank you all for listening, and we hope you join us for another episode real soon.
See ya.